far right, and we'll show you a little bit later, but that's really the one that I think that would be, to me, is the most awesome one. Because you can see on the very far right slide, if you see the dotted line. So I know Johnny G had a question about where the water district's line is. So John, if you see the line on the very far right, on the far right box, that little dotted line, that's the water district's property. And on the left is the Parks and Recreation side. So they purposely designed this so we're not encroaching on them, and we don't need to even deal with them in terms of getting usage or anything like that. So we can go to next slide and we'll kind of dig in more what this is all about. Brian?
I'm doing okay.
Okay, all right, thanks. Okay, so again, this is a collaborative effort between the county, the city, the Parks and Recreation Department, the Rotary Club, a bunch of other service clubs, and then MIG. MIG is the company that has done the design. So they've actually literally written books on adaptive playgrounds, and we're calling this a play garden, much like the one out on Coleman is the Rotary Playgarden, because there's going to be a lot of interactive, whether it's with plants or whether it's just different species of animals that are going to be more educational, and you'll see later on in terms of some of the design. But MIG has done a very good job on this, and they've done, you know, I think this is like their 16th or 17th play garden where they've done like adaptive around the country. So we'll go next. Okay, so like I said, here's the money. So far, we got there's a grant for $671,000 from the county, and then there's money from the city. So I've already checked. This money cannot be taken back. This money has already been earmarked. So if there's a budget crisis from COVID or from anything else, it can't. There's no legal way for them to take the money back. So that money is there, and that 1.342500 that's what it's going to be for the current design. So you can see the footprint, and it'll just, I mean, it'll be nice, but it's not going to be as nice as it could be. Okay, next. Okay, so then you can just go through and see. So there's all kinds of, I mean, there's like one of the things, if you go to the one on the left, it says small spinner. So that's like a merry-go-round, and then there's another youth spinner. Those are merry-go-rounds, and one of those, they're going to be flat to the ground, and one of those is going to be adaptive to be able to push a wheelchair onto it. So folks in wheelchairs will have the ability to go in a merry-go-round, much like the ones down at the Coleman site. And I'm going to keep referencing that one because, I mean, if you haven't been there, you need to go, because that Rotary Club did a fantastic job. And there, I mean, there's a company that actually kind of started up based on doing these adaptive play gardens, but they're a for-profit, and it's called Magical Bridges. They just did one in they just finished one in Redwood City. So this is kind of like the wave of the future in playgrounds. So you can, I mean, if there's other features, you can just go through and look. I mean, they're basically going to redo the whole. They're going to replace everything in there with new equipment and new groundscape. So our goal is to put in more equipment, and better groundscape. Is there any questions about that? No? Okay, so actually where this red dot is, if you remember, so Brian, if you move that red dot up along that dotted line, so if you remember that is a hillside. So a lot of times, so that's been pretty much unusable. So you'll see in the last design how that is going to be, to me, it's the best feature. That's going to be completely used and pretty awesome, I think. So, okay, we'll go to next. Okay, so this is the second one. So this is based on us raising money, right? So if we raise money either in the community, through ourselves, through corporations, which is what we're all getting organized to do, whether it's the city is helping us get organized, but legally they're not allowed to help us. They're not allowed to go out and ask money for this on the city's behalf. So they're helping us get organized so we can go ask, and we're setting up ambassadors for the Playgarden that are coming out. You may have already gotten a call from a couple of them that just is trying to encourage involvement. So this is just a larger, more advanced Playgarden. On the left side, too bad Robert Bronstein's not on here. But if you look at the very left side, all the way over where the zip lines are, Brian, by the bathroom, yeah, right there. So you see that little, those little lines just to the right of his red dot. So those are zip lines, and they will put in adaptive zip lines. So folks with special needs will be able to go in there and experience being on a zip line where they normally, like traditionally, wouldn't be able to.
And
Okay,
when we get into things like that, do we have a good way of passing off any liability of people getting on things like zip line?
So that's the beauty of this, and that's so it's the beauty of it, and it's also the curse. So with this sign, as you know, we just went and did it, and it was our thing, and we did it. And with downtown Playgarden by Coleman, they did it on their own. There was the city, they were given or lent a chunk of land, and then they just went and did it. So they technically have the liability in some respects, even though there's a gifting aspect where they gifted it back to the city. So this is already all city property. So the city is 100% liable.
Okay.
So we have no liability if someone falls off a zip line or rolls down the hill or anything. This is just us coming in and helping raise funds to make this Playgarden, it's already going to be cool, but it's going to be fantastic. Or as I said before, phenomenal. It'll be awesome. So we have no liability. We just have a little bit of work to go try to find some money. Okay, next, Brian.
So who said we had no liability?
We don't, because it's owned by the city.
But I mean,
someone falls.
Do we know that?
What's that?
Do we know we don't have any liability?
Yeah, we have no ownership of this property. Right?
Well, we might need, if we're raising the money, I think Miles is thinking kind of the same way I do. If we have a leg in it, we need some agreement that liability is accepted by the city or something like that.
No,
Okay.
because we don't have ownership of it. Because I've already asked that in terms of us do we need to get the Rotary insurance involved? But we never take ownership of this. We're not interacting with the contractors. We're not interacting with any aspect of it. We just hand them over the money. Does that make sense?
The city is building the park. We're just giving them the money to build the park.
To build the park better.
Okay.
Okay, so does that answer the questions?
Yeah, kind of.
But I mean,
the other aspect, of course, is we won't have any money. The city will. So you don't sue the outfit that doesn't have any money.
Well, true, but I mean, yeah. So I mean, under that premise, if Joe Dokes down the street gave $1,000, is he going to be liable for a lawsuit? No, right?
Well, it depends how much you give.
Yeah.
Fine.
I mean, if you're supplying the majority of the money, I don't know.
Well,
hopefully
yeah,
we got an attorney's advice.
I'm distracting from your meeting, Ken. I'm sorry, but we can address that later. But go ahead, please.
I mean, I'd be happy to get you. No, because we already asked those questions to Parks and Rec and the city. I mean, I can certainly have them reach out to you if you have concerns about that.
Okay.
Okay, and then so this is the final, kind of like the best use of the footprint that the city is being allowed to use based on fundraising. So if you look at the far right-hand side, right at the property line, so that the hill has now turned into a slide. So there's two different slides, and then there's a climb up area in the middle. So they're using the contour of the park as a way to create the elevation to go down into the slide area. And then if you follow that line down, there's different like nature paths and nature walks where it's like there'll be interactive signage and just interactive art that will coincide with what's happening at the lake and what's happening in terms of nature out there in Almaden Valley. And then you could see up at the park side where the play sections are, there's just more enhanced features. And then if you look at the flooring of it, instead of it just being a tan bark, it's more of the rubberized flooring that is more durable, and it's designed to last a whole lot longer. And that's kind of the issue is the city spends money on things, and if they go the cheap route, then a lot of times they need to go back and replace it, but then it's not the right time in the budget, or they just kind of lose sight of what needs to be done because the city is so big. So this will provide them with more of a long-lasting, durable base. Next. Is there questions about this? Okay, so here's just images of some of the features, and it's all, I mean, there's like climbable animals. That's like more of a little kids area with the kids slide. The far left is supposed to represent like a bird's nest area for kids to play around. Okay, next. Okay, so here's the hillside slide. So this just shows the contour of the hill, and then with slides, and then there's climb up areas in the middle. So these are the materials being used in these are the same ones that were used at the downtown Coleman site, and they're designed not to be for folks that have like audio issues or ADD. They're designed not to reverberate inside the eardrums. So they use special material so that it's not frightening to kids with special needs to go down them or even play in the area. So again, that MIG company is very familiar with kind of all folks with disabilities in terms of what may trigger them or what may be, attracted to them or not attracted to them. So we'll go next. Okay, so then there's that's just an image of one of the zip lines, like an adaptive zip line, where you could strap in someone in a wheelchair, someone that doesn't have use of their legs, and then the section behind. Okay, next. Okay, here's the timeline and budget. Okay. So this may answer questions in terms of, because Miles had a question about us raising a significant amount of money in 1 year in terms of us then needing to get audits and that kind of thing. So we had our first meeting in November. So the city that's putting this project together, what we're looking for is our deadline for them is March 31st for pledges. People don't have to write checks. They just need to pledge an amount that they're able and willing and wanting to give. So March 31st is our deadline to figure out what folks are able to give and want to give. And if you see, so we've pushed this out over the next, 2-3 years. So corporations, foundations, folks that have money and maybe they don't want to give it all at one time, they're able to spread it out over 2 more calendar years past 2021. So again, if you're able to help us try to raise money, March 31st is our deadline for pledges. So we just need someone to say, yeah, I'm willing to give, and this is what I'm willing to give over this period of time. So it just gives it gives folks an opportunity to not have to write a big check all at once. They could spread it out, or also corporations and foundations were able to, you know, give this over multiple calendar years for their budgets. Is there questions about that? No.
Well,
Okay, next.
well, between, who are we looking to get the pledges from? I mean, we're looking for hundreds of thousands, aren't we, to collect?
Yes. Yeah. So we'll go to that next slide. Go to the next slide. We'll look at the budget. Okay. So this is what we're looking at. So in order to get the concept 2, it's looking to raise almost 2 million, 1.7 million. And then the best one is concept 3 is to raise 3.7 million. So who are we looking for? We're looking for corporations, foundations, family members, friends, neighbors that feel like they want to have an impact in the community. And so it could be anybody, right? There's people in the city that have donated much more than that for much significantly less of a cool thing. I mean, soccer fields and that kind of thing. So I mean, we're looking for anybody and everybody, whether it's Adobe Foundation or anybody that's worked at Zoom that now has more money they kind of know how to count. And there's also elements that we're setting up now is if someone has stock that's done very well, they're able to just donate the stock in lieu of having to sell it and write a check. So there's lists. So we have, with working with folks in the city, they've helped us try to collaborate and then figure out who are big donors, who's able to be big donors, and then also what foundations. So there's a grant writer that's a member of the Almaden Senior Center, and they're helping us identify different groups and who we should go to. So this has been a lot of research in terms of, is this even doable, right? Is $3.7 million doable? And just talking to anybody that's worked on the Rotary project downtown, every single one of them is saying this is more than doable. And so we're getting access to their donor list in terms of being able to go reach out to those folks because they've already given to this type of project. We're reaching out to like San Andreas Regional Center, who directly works with special needs kids. Brian is working with the Water District, has a grant of some sort, and maybe he can tell us about that later. But I mean, we have one person that's already donated money, and then there's money like the District 10 has already received a grant for this project. So I mean, I think it's a big chunk, but over 3 years, I think it's definitely doable. And
we can raise more money if we can figure out how to put some pickleball courts in it.
Put them in the parking the grass strip by the parking lot.
Who do we go back to and say, like, for seniors, that's like such a big thing? And honestly, in San Jose, you know, the Parks and Recs have not supported good pickleball courts.
I don't know if that's the concept they're going towards, but there is another side of this park that, you know, they already have a bocce ball that maybe we can, if there's room in there, they can put a pickleball thing.
Well, I'd like to find out who we could address that with. I'm serious about this, who we could address that with, because, you know, it's big and it's important and it's activity, and it's the #1 senior activity right now.
Okay.
I mean, we could certainly reach out to Mig and say,
yeah,
hey, we could reach out to Mig and say, hey,
we
where can we put a pickleball court?
We can raise more money amongst the right people if we put some pickleball courts in.
Okay. All right. I'll let those guys know and see what they say. I mean, I don't disagree. I mean, again, like I said, there's probably 75 people waiting to play at Willow Glen High School. The courts are packed. Okay, so questions about this budget? So Miles had a question about there was an issue with raising more money than, what was it, $2 million in one calendar year?
Well, it's not a count because our year goes from August 1st to July 31st. So, it's not a calendar year. So you have to kind of look at that
Okay.
too. But I mean, that's for the endowment board, but you should take a look at that because,
Yeah.
it's not something you can do later because you have
Yeah.
to have like an audit committee and all that, they're supposed to be in place from the beginning. So just be aware of all that.
So I reached out to Johnny, who's now the president of the Kiwanis Club, and I talked to him about that. And one of our solutions is if somebody wants to donate, then maybe they would donate to them instead of it coming to here, and then that money would just go directly to the city.
Yeah, that'd be a good way to
as a
get
way
around
to
it.
yeah. And there's several. I mean, so far there's not a single service club that's not on board. And the issue is like, okay, what is the Rotary Club's commitment to this? Because we want to commit. It's kind of like, hey, we want to commit, but this is supposed to be their big project, so we want to at least match them, kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, I get it. So, but there's ways for us to kind of direct money into different buckets so we don't come into that issue.
Yeah. Well, just so you're aware of it. Yeah, because
Okay.
I have some private foundations that they raised $2 million in 1 year. They've never done it, and they're never going to do it again. But they have to have an audit, so it's really a pain.
Now, Miles, do those people have do they have a tug in their heart for special needs play gardens?
Who's that?
These private foundations.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. You can contact different ones.
Perfect. There we go. And that was the thing. I mean, you can go online and look at the 990s at Almaden Valley, and there's plenty of people that have family foundations that all it would take is sending them a nice letter and a description of the program. There's going to be donor walls and donor sites all over this place. So for recognition for family members or just anything, I mean, there's a lot of opportunities, and as we all know, there's a lot of money, not just in Almaden Valley, but everywhere. So I think this is kind of where we're at.
So I had to step out. I had to step out for a minute for a call, and I'm back. And maybe you covered this, but what's your feeling on the club's ability to raise this amount of money? I mean, I'm not concerned. I do think that it would take some work, but I also think that it holds the potential of really putting us on the map with something significant that gives us an anchor for who and why we are as a club. So, I really see the benefit of supporting this wholeheartedly. And at the same time, I want to make sure we do a good job.
Yeah. And and that's kind of the reason why we're having this meeting, is to see who is involved and who has, the want to do this. I think between us, we're in contact with some of the folks that helped out in fundraise for the downtown program, and they're already reaching out to the folks that already helped out with that play garden. And then I think through our contacts and through, there's a lot of other service clubs. I mean, right now the women's club says that they're going to try to outraise us. So, I mean, I think that's a good motivation. I mean, I think that's cool, right? So I think with that, and I mean, there's some naysayers that say, I don't want this to happen because then there will be too much traffic on my way in and out of my house, right? Because if this becomes a destination play garden, I could see some people feeling that way. But I mean, I don't know. I'd rather have more ability to do things around where I live instead of having to drive somewhere else. So why not bring it to where we live?
Yeah.
And again, and I realize I wish it were a situation where we were completely in charge. We're completely in charge of the design, completely in charge of everything. But unfortunately, the project's already started, and there's already money set aside. And this was, I mean, obviously the city would, you know, they want something. The Parks Department is super excited for this to be better than what they were able to do, but they're also, you know, they also feel like, hey, we're spending $1.3 million to renovate a park, and it's going to be awesome whether we raise money or not. So the question is
do you know that
good?
San Jose has fewer parks than any city in the nation?
Yeah, and there's been, and that's kind of part of their. I mean, if you look at some of the plans, what they did is, I mean, I don't know if anybody's on the city here on the call. I don't, Trisha, do you work for the city? Anyways, what they did is they kind of cheated and they took over a lot of the parks that were connected to schools and turned those into parks. So then that would increase their parks, which really, they didn't really build any new parks. They just took over existing patches of land that were connected with schools.
So then my next question is, can we put up a big sign that says Almaden Valley Rotary?
So that's what we're working on too, is
like they did, like the downtown club at the park over here has a big sign that says,
that's one of the things that we're working on is working on naming, and that was an issue. So that's working with donors, right? So if we go to Zoom and Zoom says, okay, we'll give you 3.7 million, but you got to call it Zoom Playgarden, right? So then that's when we go and have a discussion with them, right? Or whoever. So that's totally a possibility. It just is an issue of us trying to figure out, okay, is Pat, like the person like Patty O'Malley, is she going to come in and write a big check and then we're going to name it Patty O'Malley? So I'm reading Trisha's message right now. That's good. Okay. Anyways, so we're leaving it up there so that it's still an option for someone if they want to become a big donor, right?
And then my next question is, did you outline basically what it would take from the club to accomplish this?
Yeah, Brian started, so we're not going to be completely responsible for the whole 3.7. So what we're doing is we're putting together goals for all the service clubs. We're reaching out to the churches. We're reaching out to the Santa Clara Valley Realtor Association. We have folks that are we're creating forms right now or presentations right now for corporations and foundations of corporations. So behind the scenes, there's a lot of people working on this that aren't technically really allowed to be working on it in the fashion that they are, but they just want to because they work for the city, they just want to get this project done. So I mean, I do think I think it's doable, and I think it's long lasting, and I think it's a worthwhile thing for us to get involved with. And again, I mean, we're not on the hook for $5 million and say, go build it. All we're doing is helping collect money for the city to help them build this.
Well, I'm 99% in, and I'll be 100% in if you get pickleball courts.
Okay, perfect. Miles, are you going to start playing pickleball?
I don't know. I've heard it's a good game, but I've never played it or haven't even seen it. So
it's a lot of fun and great exercise.
It sounds good.
Okay, people, come on.
I'll have to drop you a note on pickleball where I play, and
okay, let's go.
In Hawaii.
Let's go. Next slide.
Okay, next slide. Okay, so this just goes over what the original or the current design and what all that includes. So one of the issues, so on the most aggressive program is raising 3.7 million, which would add the whole slide area on the hill, which I think is, to me, it's the coolest thing. And then new restrooms. So this wouldn't just be this is more individual use restrooms. So somebody with a caretaker can go in there with their patient or their client. Somebody that has a child that has special needs can help bring them into a restroom. So those are all going to be individual use restrooms, and then also restructuring and finishing the parking lot so that add more handicap parking and just more accessibility. So that it just goes through that. Okay, next, Ryan. Okay, so that's, bottom line is this, the best example to me is the $5 million one, and we're already, a pretty good, well, it says right 27% of the way there. So, I think that through the Downtown Rotary Club again is helping us fundraise. Community service groups are helping us fundraise. Folks that have been in office are helping us fundraise. I think we're just, the bottom line is we're just kind of the helpers of organizing it, and that's kind of our role. So that's where we're at in terms of it's, so we're not, the bottom line is, I guess we're not starting at zero. We're already 27% of the way there.
I'd really like to know that we could get some visibility in this.
Okay.
As
So
in a sign or something.
Yeah, no. So on a donor wall, we're certainly, our name will be all over donor wall, right? Because we're spearheading this, we're organizing it, and we're gathering the money. So it's just, so if we're able to come in, obviously, like my first thing is I wanted to call this Almaden Valley Rotary Club Playgarden at the Lake to kind of match up with the one downtown. So that's really what I wanted to do. But I hear, so there's folks in Parks and Rec, and there's folks in the city, and that already, they literally have price tags of what things cost to name at the city. So if I wanted to come in and change the soccer field to Joan Perry, I could, and this is what it costs, right? So they have all that commoditized. So yeah, so on a donor wall or where people are going to know that we're involved, and we haven't really done anything with the media, and that's going to start happening. So you'll see this in Almaden Times, you'll see it kind of all over the place in the next 2-3 weeks, just to kind of create the visibility and go from there. But yeah, our name so far has been on everything. This presentation is not, if you saw all the Rotary stuff on it, this presentation is not just for us. This is one that went out. So we had a kickoff presentation. What was that, on like 3 weeks ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago? And the kickoff presentation was given to some folks that are considered to be influential in terms of that are already raised money. So we did a kickoff presentation to which on that presentation, and some of you guys attended, but we had folks from the Parks Department. Johnny Camus came in, Matt Mahan, the incoming city councilman, the folks from MIG, like the lady that designed this whole park, and so that was pretty well recepted. So I think we're kind of well on our way.
And I think Kiwanis was also on that call.
Yeah, Kiwanis. I think there's some folks from Lions. A lot of these guys are just they're ready to get involved, and that's good, because it directly benefits our community.
So Ken, I'll offer to help on behalf of our club.
Okay, perfect. That's cool. So we need so you're good at this stuff. So one of the things that we're looking for is there's a grant writer, and then they're going to give us a list of different organizations that have already donated things to the city or county. And it's just a matter of, okay, like the Sharks Foundation. The Sharks Foundation, right? They give out money. Okay, so it's just going in, finding out who to contact, what the requirements are for their grants, and then how do we fulfill that? Someone will then create a grant application. I mean, someone will fill out the grant application, but it's just somebody going and finding, okay, hey, this is the deadline for this one. This is what they require, so on, right? So I mean, that's something that, I mean, that's just kind of like a scavenger hunt based on you already having. So that, I mean, if you'd be willing to do that, I mean, we could get you. And we have the other thing is we have, what do we have? Is there 3 interns right now?
Yeah,
There's three. There's 3 interns, and then Greg, if you look in the comments, excuse me, if you look in the comments, Greg just posted the website that he's worked on with was it one of the interns or was it a Mel?
No,
We'll
actually,
say-
I think the interns created the whole thing. Brian and I got the domain registered, and our club is actually funding the web hosting and all that goes with it. So yeah, that link, they actually did a good job with it.
Yeah. So if you go through that, either do it now or go after the presentation, you can take a look and just check out the website. That's everything is going to be directed to that. If you look at that website, our name is all over it. So I know in the past, like we always had issues where it's like, hey, we did all this stuff, but nobody knew we really did it. On this, it's gonna you'll know that we're deeply involved in running it. So, and again, I mean, I mean, a lot of times, like, we're not doing this for the credit. At some point, it's also nice to get credit for hard work.
Yeah, and our endowment board is kicking off with a contribution as well. So
yeah.
I think we're committed to 15,000 over the next 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a great start, and part of the reason why we did that is for the other service clubs to say, hey, these guys are putting money up, and we need to too. So, is there another slide, or is this?
No, there's another one.
What?
Okay.
I put the link up on.
Oh. Okay, you did?
Yes. Nobody looked at it. There.
Jerry, I love you, buddy. Okay, so then this is one of so this is something that was created in terms of folks being able to say, hey, I can, my goal is to go get 10 people to raise $50,000 to $99,000, or 12 people to put up 25 grand. So this is just, instead of trying to eat an elephant with one big bite, this is just kind of a way for folks to come in and say, hey, this is what I'm willing to do, and this is what I'm going to try to go after. And again, I mean, anybody that's ever been involved in sales, always ask for a little bit more than you wanted and see what happens, because you never know, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, next. Okay, yeah, so then that's an important thing. So this is some of the things in terms of what we went over at that meeting. And this is to, again, I mean, look on here, it's like enlist your HOA. So if any of you are in an HOA, maybe it's like at the Villas of Almaden, it's like, hey, these guys are putting in this new play garden. Its bottom line is going to increase home prices around. I mean, that's why the Realtors Association is wants to be involved, because they know that it'll increase. And then again, like, remind people about corporate matching, right? So if they give money personally, then their corporation may have a policy where they, will match up to a certain dollar amount. I don't know, most major corporations do. And then if you know somebody like works or is involved in a foundation of any kind, a corporate foundation or a private foundation, those are some of the folks that we want to get in front of too. I mean, we're willing to make presentations. I mean, I've already made this presentation to 2 or 3 people that I know have the ability to give without it hurting them. So that's kind of what I want all of us to kind of feel like they want to do. Because it's not, I mean, if we raise a good amount of money, Brian and I don't have to write a check for the rest. So that's cool.
What?
Right, Jerry? What? Questions about this?
What?
No, that's Terry. That's so not. So questions about this? So I mean, bottom line is we're looking for some kind of a commitment. Joan's already made the commitment, which is awesome. So just some kind of commitment to be involved, to help. Whether, I mean, if you have an issue with asking people for money, then put us, or put, there's going to be a lot of other people involved, put other folks involved to help ask for that money. There's other things that can be done that we need help with that doesn't involve you going and asking your friends for money. There's all kinds of other ways, whether it's helping out a grant writer, helping out researching and figuring out which different foundations we can talk to. But I know that there's a lot of interest, whether it's in the special needs community and the seniors community, but there's a lot of interest in having this turn into a reality. Because I mean, quite honestly, I know, like, I live in Willow Glen, and a lot of times I never even want to leave Willow Glen. I mean, there's no reason for me to. And it's the same thing. If I live in Almaden, do I really want to drive all the way out to the airport to take my kids or grandkids to the playground? So this is a way to bring kind of something really cool to our backyard.
And unlike some of our past regular projects, it's not like an automatic bill that everybody has to put in X amount. So
Well,
it's,
not
it's,
yet.
what, it's what you
Right,
can
not
do.
yet. Yeah. I mean, it's not, I mean, and the thing is, it's like, too, I mean, a lot of, like, we're adding the donate your stock. So it's not like you're having to write a check. It's like a lot of times people just, they'll put money up, but they don't. I personally know that folks feel like money in investment accounts isn't really real money yet until it turns into cash. So it's like, so it's just an opportunity. Is there other questions? So Miles has agreed to volunteer for the audit committee. Is he still here?
Oh, good.
Perfect.
What about generating handout materials? Is that something we would think about?
Yeah, so that's so there's a couple things right now. Is we're in the process of doing we have a one pager, so we have that, and then we also are going to have a 2-minute presentation of this slideshow with a voiceover, so it can just be emailed out to folks. And I already know, like, I've focused on a couple of my friends that have done very well in the stock market because of their jobs, and I just sent this directly to their wives, because then the wife, so I actually got a phone call and said, hey, from one of my buddies, like, why are you sending this stuff to Kelly? She's like on me right now that we need to write a check, which, I mean, I like that. That's cool. So that's kind of it. To me, it goes back to the old thing, like Constantino would always say, you got to mail the grapevine out, not for the member, but for the spouse. And I agree with that. So this is the website. And then so that the donate button goes directly to us. And Brian, do you want to talk about the software?
Yeah, we purchased this software. It's called Donor Perfect, and it's a way to keep tabs on money coming in. You keep contact lists. If somebody's pledging money, you have it down for that individual. You can get to remind them, hey, you pledged X amount of dollars. So we just started it. It's pretty easy to use, and this would be a way for us to keep an accurate account of how the money comes in. And at the end, once we have all the money's going to be in our endowment account, at the end we write the check to the parks, and then we're done. So we're not like dishing out money at one time. So
yeah, and the other cool thing about that is that software we're going to give unique codes to the different service clubs and different organizations, so that they would then use that themselves, that they would put out to their members, whether it's the Santa Clara Valley Realtors Association, and then they would then we would know that was coming directly from them, so then they would get credit, right? And then it would cause kind of like a challenge thing, right? It's like, hey, look at so-and-so, so-and-so donated X, I need to donate at least X, right? I mean, that's kind of what we're trying to do. And it also keeps us organized in terms of, we know the best thing is keep track of anything. This software will keep track of it all for us. And this was recommended by someone in Johnny's office that has worked for a very major nonprofit. And this is this is what they recommended. So we're trying to make this unlike the football game where we had to keep track of, hey, did we get the check-in from the screen shop, and did this happen and that? I mean, this is all going to be done for us. Because I mean, I realize that it's not that easy to do with our number of bodies.
It's a good investment.
Yeah.
I think so. And then also, I mean, if we talk about liability, then there's no question of saying, oh, hey, show us your books. I sent money in for this, but I don't see a record of it. We're going to have a total record of all money coming in and out. And I would assume, was there a donation receipt part of that, Brian? Do you remember that? Where it would generate a receipt?
Yeah, I think it generates a donation receipt. Yeah.
So we don't have to, I mean, I remember in the past for like the Welcome to Almaden sign, and then that one, and then when it got vandalized and we raised the money on GoFundMe, there was people asking for receipts for, I mean, I remember Miles there was somebody that donated like $50 and they wanted a receipt. It was like, what? So this will do it all. I think it's a click of a button and it just sends it out. And I would assume if they got it via email, then they would just get an email receipt.
Yeah.
Okay, so Brian's showing us this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
These are photos from the downtown Playgarden. These are the like donor walls. And then
So we'd
already,
and we'd already talked because there's folks that had donated money to Paul or to the Rotary Club on Paul's behalf. So we'd already talked about even doing something with his name on it there, something special somewhere on this. So we're, as much as we're not running this project, like we don't have to figure out contracting different workers and groups and figuring out how to grade the place and what are the permits and all that. We still have a lot of input in terms of what's going on. Where's your Mexico trip pictures? Do you have the Mexico trip pictures?
No.
Okay. Brian in a bikini.
Here you go. This is the one in downtown San Jose on Coleman Avenue.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of a panoramic.
Where on Coleman is that compared to the soccer stadium?
No, where Target
it's on
is?
Coleman and Hetty. Yeah.
Yeah, do you know where Target is?
It's Taylor. It's Taylor.
It's
Taylor.
Taylor,
Yeah, that's it.
Taylor and Coleman.
But do you know where the Target is out there?
I haven't been down there for a long time.
Okay, so now there's a Target in the big parking lot. If you look directly across the street from Target through the parking lot, that's where it is. It was just basically a big chunk of unused vacant land.
Okay.
But the contour, I mean, so this, like if you ever saw it before, it didn't have those hillsides. They brought all that dirt in to make these slides but we already have, see how it goes down on the left, see the staircases and all that?
Mm-hmm.
So they brought all this dirt in for that. We don't need to do that because we already have the contour of the property.
Good. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean
their
That's
project cost $6 million.
That's close to my house, and I go by there a lot, and it's well used.
Yes. I mean, I forget the numbers, but it was what, like maybe, I forget, it was well over 1 million people go there every year.
Yeah, it's well used.
And if you look it up, this park has gotten, because of this special use aspect of it and its use for all, it's gotten written up in all kinds of articles across the country. And like I said, that Natural Bridges company, they started their company based on this because it was so successful.
Huh.
So
Yeah.
again, that hillside, it wasn't even there before. Because if you ever go out there, that was all flat land.
Yeah, it was just a big open. No, it was worse than that. It's where all the homeless were camping.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But,
So if the city gets what they want, they're going to put the homeless shelter right next door to it. It'll be perfect. That was a joke.
yeah,
That was a joke.
yeah, it already is right next door to it.
So I mean, I don't know how. I know the parks are open now, so I would say if you have an opportunity to just go out there, it's a cool. It's like just cool to walk around out there. It's nice. And I mean, I don't know if it's tomorrow, but the Silicon Valley Republican Club Women's Club is having a meeting out there tomorrow somewhere. Feel free, stop by.
On which one? The one downtown?
Yeah, it's just down. I think it's a block down at
Yeah.
some other place.
Okay.
I just think as kind of an overall point of view, we need to support parks and free spaces in San Jose because it makes it a more beautiful city. And I think we're lacking in that area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
You know, this is not like there are already 5 of them. This is like something we need.
Mm-hmm. Well, and especially, so we didn't even talk about the aspect of the lake. So the construction that's going to happen there, it's still, they really have no idea when they're going to start or finish that project. So, and I just know from at the Elks Lodge so the Guadalupe Creek that runs right by the Elks Lodge. So the water district bought the parking lot of the Elks Lodge. And I was talking to somebody about this project, and I said, hey, when are they going to start that whole water district project by the Elks Lodge? And the guy said, do you want to know something? He said, I looked back at those records, and that was originally approved during the Korean War. So the bottom line is like, because there were some issues of like, hey, let's wait and do this coinciding with the construction and all the other stuff. But because the way that they drew up these designs, we're not going to infringe on them. Even if construction's done concurrently, we don't have to worry about that. We're going to be able to do our own project. They're going to do theirs. And then eventually that will just be one whole awesome block, you know? And
do they have any access rights though for construction to come across anything that would be built?
Well, that's been discussed in terms of them they already are confident because where the shoreline is going to get moved, that there's no need for them to move any construction equipment through the park or disrupt it in any way. So this play garden is not going to get touched. Clearly they're going to have to go through like the main entrance and make an immediate right, but they've already talked about they're going to tear down fences and do all that stuff. Because that's a major project. But again, like I said about the Elks thing, I wouldn't hold my breath for that happening for quite a while, just based on previous timing of stuff. So, I mean, I don't know.
That's something that will be in use for half a century before they get to it, is what you're saying.
Well, right. I mean, if we waited around, why would we wait? I mean,
yeah.
And it's not, so when I see that, if we wait around, the cost of construction, it would just potentially go up, right? So, and there's a timeline and a deadline for using the county money. We've already got that deadline pushed back because of COVID. So it's either kind of a use it or lose it thing. So that's why we have the March 31st deadline to let them know. And we certainly don't want to walk away from, 1.3 million. So that's, I don't know. It, get something, 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 I don't essentially, I mean, it's our money that they're using. The 1.3 is ours, but we don't want to walk away from that. So anyways, we certainly want everybody involved if you can help. That doesn't mean you all have to write a check for 3.7 million, but involved in terms of, we'll get you all the literature that you need. If you want to, we'll get you the presentation. If you want to have somebody else present, there's several different options. So, I mean, we can do a Saturday Zoom meetings with people that you feel would be potentially interested in this. We could do those, you know, every Saturday until March 31st. I mean, it's certainly a lot easier to do this kind of thing than it is to go find a place, whether it's at the water district in a community room or at the city or whatever. But this is a way to, again, so once we get the video with like a voice track over, and then we already have the one pager is created, so we'll get those out. We can print those up, or you could just email those or whatever. But I mean, I think the website, they did a good job on the website, and I think this is just, I mean, it is a cool opportunity to have something there for a long time. And I mean, that space is already used a lot, but now it's just going to be more enhanced. So with that, I don't know. We done?
Yeah.
Well,
And
what do we need in terms of the club saying, yes, we're moving forward with it or not?
Well, the endowment already said
Are we
yes.
committed at this point? Have you guys committed us to it? Okay, we're committed.
yeah,
Well,
we committed.
I mean, what's our commitment? Like we're not on the hook to, we don't have to write it. We don't have like a minimum check we have to write. We're just committed to going and doing the work. I mean, it's up to each individual Rotarian to say they want to be involved or not.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
we did have to give a commitment, you know, and we decided anybody over 80 had to be involved.
Good plan.
And stay alive long enough to meet their commitment.
Oh, I think you'll be there for sure.
Much like a 529 bill, you can preload it and then hopefully you live through it.
Yeah.
Trying to do it right now with 4 of them. Yeah.
Okay.
You guys headed out forms, and who gets those and so forth. I'll have to look on that.
Brian, you're
everything's through the endowment. So you send it to the endowment mail post office box 20543. It's all on the website or our website. And so I'll be like the caretaker and
Okay.
the clearinghouse. I'll be the clearinghouse for it.
Very good.
okay. Yeah. So again, if you have anybody that you know that, I mean, the biggest thing is somebody that works at corporations or some kind of foundation, or just someone that you know that has a kind of a passion for this kind of a thing, or wants to make a big impact in the community. Those are the people that we should be talking to. I mean, clearly we want money from everyone, every walk of life, but that's going to be able to get us closer to the March 31st goal of letting them know, because they need to know, okay, what are we planning on? Like, what design are we going to be able to do?
Sorry, I missed that. By March 31st, all the contributions are supposed to be in.
No, so Brian, can you go back to that or no? So the contributions, we don't need any money. Yeah, we don't need any money collected until the money needs to be pledged by March 31st. It doesn't need to be paid. So they have 2 more years until 2022. Actually, 2023. Yeah, they have until 2023 to actually pay. So, and we did that.
2022.
Well, there's
2022.
No, yeah, 2023 is we break grounds. Yeah, 2022. So we did that so folks could give money over time. So there's this year, and then again, I mean, if people need to do this for their taxes, they can spread it out. Obviously, talk to your accountant and make sure that you're getting the most bang for your buck. But Yeah, so March 31st, 2021 is the deadline when we have to tell them, hey, this is what we have commitments for, and this is the project that we can afford, like which design.
And you mentioned, excuse me, John, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's pretty quick in terms of doing, you know, fundraisers with or stuff with corporations and all that.
Yeah, so that was that's the issue with the city and construction. So that was their, again, they don't have to put up the money. They just have to say, yeah, we're interested in doing it, and we're interested in doing it at this level. So all we're trying to do is get in their budget, which typically is what happens.
Can I clarify this? So
Hello?
the money you're trying to raise from other, like, you know, Google's contribution, that doesn't have to be committed by March 31st, 2021, does it?
It doesn't have to be paid. It just they just have to say, yes, our foundation, this is what our goal is, this is our deadline. Yeah, and this is what we're looking for.
That's pretty quick for
So
them to
it's-
say.
Yeah, I agree. Watching, you know, some of the other fundraising in the house.
Uh-huh. You'll never get them to respond that fast.
In 3 months?
Uh-uh.
Just-
Well,
So that would be the
I'm-
commitment to, I'm going to donate $500,000. Doesn't mean they have to pay for it. So you don't,
I understand that. You won't get through their committees in 3 months. No way.
well,
I mean,
this
there's
is
other
all-
groups besides Google.
I mean, no, but I mean, this is all, I mean, I know it, like, I mean, at Adobe, it's just like 2 people that are just charged with this, and that's their thing.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, we're going off of somebody that works in Johnny's office that she's the one that set the timeline with them. So we're just relying on her she knows what she's doing.
Okay.
I was trying to find my wife, who does a lot of this stuff for Assistance League, to find out how long it takes them. She's not here, but it strikes me that it's a longer turnaround time than that in a lot of cases. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
I've tried to do some fundraising for a friend of mine, and she has an animal rescue, and the lead times on it, I mean, I know it's different, but the lead times are long.
Okay, so it's
All
like
right,
we're
yeah, so
dropping, losing people.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, that's all we can
Yeah.
do is go. I mean, ideally, I mean, there's plenty of guys that could just write a check for the whole thing. So,
Yeah.
But that's kind of not really
And-
what we wanted to get the whole community involved. So that's what
Right.
that's what we're trying to do.
And Bill, you can ask your wife how much the Assistant League wants to donate for this too. Okay, don't forget-
We'll see what kind of answer we get on that.
Yeah, see what kind of answer.
Tell
you
them
get.
their metal disc on the Welcome to Almaden sign is in jeopardy.
I'm just glad that Hayden was able to stay for the whole meeting.
Yeah. Okay,
that
don't
nicer?
forget about Secret Santa. Don't forget about Secret
Okay,
Santa.
and if anybody needs any fresh Asian produce or seafood, just come right to my office. And
Oh,
look
are they
right
lining
across
up
the
yet?
way.
Because I got to run over and
'Cause-
get mine.
No, there's seafood today. I saw seafood.
I think that was a bell. All right,
Okay.
see
Oh,
you
look
guys
how
later.
strong Brian is. He picked that bell up with one hand.
Yeah, one hand.
Okay.
All right, see you guys later.
Have a good one,
Okay,
folks.
goodbye. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Ken. Great job on the
Thanks for
presentation.
doing that.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks.